Let's see here. All right, boom, we're live. With Lisa Fratelli here at Flow Freaks Podcast. I want you to just share a little bit about your background and your backstory with everybody.
Um, well, we met because of the Flow Research Collective, but before that, I've been building a coaching business for about 5 years. Prior to that, I was a trader, stock and option trader for 11 years, and before that, an advisor, and before that, I was in insurance, and before that, I worked in mental health many years ago. My background is psychology. Yeah. So, but the thing that I really liked doing the most was trading. Yeah.
And why is that?
Lots of flow in trading, which I never knew what it, yeah, lots of complexity, um,
Novelty, immediate feedback.
novelty. Yes. Risk, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of it. Yes. And, well, anybody that's done any kind of trading knows that it's a ride, you know, and learning how to enjoy the ride is cool. It's fun.
It
Yeah.
sounds that whole environment just sounds like one big flow trigger.
It is. I mean, it's not fun all the time. When you lose money, it sucks, but that's part of the game, is learning how to
Right.
not lose as much and to trade another day, you eat what
Trade
you
another
kill
day.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what that environment was, it just seems like there's a lot of stress in that environment too.
It's a lot of stress. Yeah. Yeah. I studied with a floor trader, market maker from Philly. I'm in New Jersey. And then I studied with John Person's company, which he's a master commodity trader. He used to be on CNBC all the time. And so I didn't trade commodities and I didn't trade futures, but I understood a lot of the intricacies of how those markets, how they, how they are with one another, and how they the relationships, and a lot of that hasn't changed. So and I see the stuff that's happening now, and it's pretty exciting, the cryptos and all that stuff.
Yeah, and the NFTs and everything, it's a
Yes, yes,
big game changer too.
yes, yeah,
And
yep.
what do you think about all that stuff?
Well, we own Ethereum. It's the only thing I own, only because it's in Coinbase. I own Coinbase also, um, and I haven't moved it to a wallet. We don't own a lot of it. The fees of moving it are I don't know if they've come down, but it's kind of extraordinary. um, what do I think about it? I don't think it's going away. And many of the banks around the world have their own cryptos, have their own currencies. Yeah. So as soon as one of the institutions comes out and says that it's fraud or it's bullshit, it's like a neon sign to say, okay, then this is something they're really afraid of, and you should, um, in my opinion, you should, take it seriously. This isn't going to go away.
Right.
So,
It almost sounds like they probably won't come out and say that either. If anything, they're going to try to manipulate the game somehow in the
yes,
back end
yes.
to get the money, you know?
Yeah, think of it. They want all the assets to stay. It's an asset game. All of it's an asset game, and they swap assets out all the time, which is your money and my money,
Right.
and they want that to stay in their coffers. Basically, that's the game. So it really is that simple.
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, it's been around for a long time too, long before I think people in the United States really realized China's been involved with cryptos for many years, long before
Right.
we have. Yeah,
And so we met in Zero to Dangerous,
we did.
and
Yeah.
and then we got into FTA, and so talk a little bit about like how you found FRC and Zero to Dangerous and the whole flow world.
I don't have it here. The book that really I've read a lot of Stephen Kotler's books. Bold, The Future is Faster Than You Think, Superman, and Stealing Fire came out And that, because of my psych background and a lot of stuff I was involved with, it really was that book. It's that was the thing that made me. I bought the book. I got more books, and then I got a couple of one of his courses, and I saw Z to D, and I thought, I had just gotten involved with another company to sell their product, a coaching product, and it was really light on neuroscience, though. It is really light on neuroscience, and I love science, and I really I've read a lot of gurus throughout many years, and I like the fact that Stephen said biology scales and personality doesn't, or however he says that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I interviewed for Z to D, and started doing that in May, and then I did the FTA. It's I just wrote a blog about it. It's really life changing to me.
Yeah.
It is. It doesn't, when you see yourself starting to incorporate a lot of that in your life, it's really neat. It's trying to explain it to people. Some of the things that I talk about, like the sleep thing, was a big eye opener for me, because I never liked to sleep a lot. I was always, I believe with that myth that, that what they say, you don't really,
Yeah.
yeah, want to
You can
sleep a
sleep
lot.
when you're dead.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hustle, hustle, hustle. You
Yes.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And it's funny you say, getting into Z to D and like seeing everything that it does for you, because I had a huge, like, it was like everything turbocharged. And then I crashed right after because I went so hard. Like it was a big crash,
oh
and then kind of like life stuff mixed with Z to D. And I was like going through Art of Impossible just this past week, and he talks about how, there's usually a crash from like, 2 to 3 months, because you got to
yes.
stabilize everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that even going through the other course too, the other one that we're in, and how you're implementing things, and then you're moving away from people, and you just keep, I don't know, you just keep trimming your life back to what it is you really want to do. And I see that. And I was with other people in FRC, and they were talking about the same thing. You know, yeah, it's really neat. I mean, there's so many amazing people in this course too. They're
Yeah,
all from all over the
sure.
world. Yeah.
The community, when I got into Zero to Dangerous, I was like, oh my God, this is
Yes.
amazing. Like,
Yes.
where have you guys been?
Yeah, I know. I know. Yes.
um, yeah, it's so nice to just like be able to connect with people. And I love how you were saying, going through Z to D, you're like cutting things out. And so many times people are like, well, what can I do more of? What can I learn? What can I add? What skill, or what can I add to my life or what I'm doing? And then you kind of go through this process of like the mechanisms that like drive us, to really stay on track and be gritty, and the motivation. And like, you're like cutting things out drastically, like what needs
Yes.
to go, and then just doing more of the things that really matter.
Yes. I don't think people get that, Gemini, but that's really true. What you just said, especially for people who've gone there. I mean, most of us have been burned out, right? That's one of the common denominators of everyone. We've already done a lot of things in our lives, and we're okay. We've crashed in some respect. Yeah, and eliminating a lot of things is really, I was surprised when they said that too, because as you say, most other programs are adding, they're trying to tell you what to do, and adding more of their stuff to your life, which isn't what should happen. Yeah.
uh, and I love, when we talked last week about some of the things that you were going through in your past marriage, and how everything kind of just, there was a lot of struggle, and you were trying
Yes.
to make things work. And like, I would love for you to like share some of that, um, and how it kind of like correlates to like struggling gracefully, how we were talking about that in the session. And because we all go through struggles, and I think we get so caught up in like trying to make things work, and then, I mean, it's led you to a great place. You're an FRC, you're an FTA, you did zero to dangerous, and now you're also in the leadership, which is amazing. So like, I would love to kind of maybe you share some of that story and like how things kind of unfolded and how maybe that can relate for other people so they can kind of take some of those nuggets and put those into their life.
Huh. Well, I was a single mom. My God, I don't know where should I begin. I'm not from New Jersey. I've lived here a long time, but I came here with my first husband, and I got divorced. My kids were really little. I initiated it. They were my youngest was 6 months old, and the other one was my other daughter wasn't even 4. And it took us 3 years to get divorced. We lived in the same house. It was the War of the Roses. I didn't know that movie didn't exist at the time. He didn't, like we weren't fighting over the house, but I didn't see that movie. But people were like, "That's the War of the Roses. You lived that." So yeah. And anyway, I kept the house, and I had these 2 little girls. And at the time, I was working in mental health, and I don't know if I told you this story. I called the feds on the company I was working with because they were corrupt. Yeah. And then I backed down. My mother begged me to back down, so I did. They fired me right before Christmas, only because I was trying to reprimand one of the people that I supervised. And they might have known, I don't think so, but after they got rid of me, they got rid of everybody I had hired. And
Wow.
and then but 2 or 3 years after that, they were indicted by the feds, not because of me, but 26 other people got together and called the feds on them.
Wow.
And I don't really know what happened. I think they just went across the border to another state and set up shop. Yeah, pretty corrupt people. All programs aren't like that, but I've heard otherwise. And from there, I was going into financial business anyway, because I needed to make more money. I was living in poverty. A headhunter had called me once, and he knew what I was making. He was like, "You're living in poverty." I was like, "No shit." Thanks for telling me. Like, I didn't really know that. So yeah, when you're working social services, at least then you lived. I had 2 kids in a house. I lived in poverty. So I got into the business as an insurance agent, and then I just kept. One of the first companies in the brokerage industry that hired me. It was all straight commission, but they sponsored me to get my licenses. So I did that. I got my 65 and my 7, and I started working for them. And one day when I got to work, the doors were closed, so I had to go get another job. They just went back to Manhattan and closed the shop. The stories of being in that business, I have a lot of them. Yeah, I think people think that, when you've done all, you got the degree and you got your licenses, and, you're all shiny and new, and you go to work and like, you're good to go. Like, that's not the case. No, they see you for the most part as a means to an end. You have to bring your book of business. And the second company I worked for was a legit company, and part of them are still around, but I really wanted wanted to know more. So I remarried at that time, and I became a trader. I borrowed $25,000 from my husband because you needed that at the time to have a margin account. So I did that, and I started studying, and I studied a lot. And then I studied with various people, and I got into position trading more than anything, and options. And I really liked it. So I don't know. Let's see. And then I got sick. Is that what you mean? That part of the story. After 11 years, I got sick from biotoxins. They were in my office. Black mold was in my office.
Oh wow.
And I went to 14 different medical people, not all doctors, some, like weird people out there, living on the fringes. Yes. And
New age
new
stuff.
age people. Yes. We'll call them that. Yes. And everybody had their opinion. And then there was a doctor right here in South Jersey that he was the last one I saw. And he said, I bet everybody told you were crazy. And I said, yes, they did. So he's an allergist and an ENT and a couple other things, a really great doctor. And I got better, and it took me 7 months to figure it out. He was the end. He was at the end. And at that time, I decided to go back into my first love, which was psychology. And so I thought, okay, I'll become a coach. But I met a lot of people in that industry that, in my opinion, really didn't have the best interests of the people they were coaching. So, and that's why
I mean,
I'm glad we're here at FRC, because it's not about me being a guru, and it's all science based. And well, you know this, Gemini, from your background, right? Like, you know, so you have more just to more substance to your coaching when it's, I think, when it's science based, especially when you're affiliated with or when you've been trained by people at FRC. So I think it's pretty amazing stuff.
yeah, and
Yeah.
when you say people in that space didn't have the best intentions, what did you mean? Like, or what was some of the things that you saw?
Oh gosh. Gosh, I did so many things. I spent so much money learning how to sell it and market it and all that, coaching. One of the first things I did, I went to, I was in California a couple times. It was a mastermind. That was a total joke. Total waste of money. Another thing was I did some videos, not like this, but like, the green screen, and it was a studio, and again, a lot of money. And there was a guy there. He was just one of the many people. He was a coach, and he said, as long as there are screwed up and damaged people in the world, I'll always have a job. And maybe that doesn't sound so negative or derogatory, but I thought, I thought this, I didn't say anything, but I thought then, if you carry that energy into your time with this person, whatever it, that into the space, they should be able to feel that. And you're going to perpetuate how, if they feel damaged or whatever they might be feeling, you're just going to exacerbate that. You're not going to help them. And sort of the same thing is even what we learned in FRC in the FTA course, that how even psychology now looks at the strengths of people rather than thinking that we're all messed up in the head, which is pretty cool, because a lot of people aren't messed up in the head. They just want to, have more fulfilling lives, and they just, something in it really isn't that they've screwed up. They've had successes and failures. If you don't risk anything, you're probably never going to have a failure. I think the more things people risk, the more possibilities of having things not work out. So that's basically, and I don't know. I'm really glad that I found these courses, and I think it's I call them the mothership. I know I told you that. Right?
Yes.
I said that to somebody. I said, I think
Yeah, you were
FRC
saying that last week.
the mothership, and I said it to one of the neuroscientists or one of the PhDs psychologists, and they laughed. I said, no, I really feel like you guys are the mothership. I mean, you got all this research coming out, like, and you distill it to us. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I love how you were kind of going into some of the things about, like, viewing people as broken, and they can,
Yes.
really like feel that, especially as a coach. And and I heard something yesterday, and Stephen Collar in Art of Impossible was saying how, self rumination is a really big um, part of anxiety and depression, and that having purpose and like meaning in your life
Yes.
is this armor that, like, I guess, like in a biological sense, like shields you from that anxiety and depression. And
Yes.
I know guys like Russell Brunson talks about how there's a point in your life where you can't grow anymore, and because you've already got there, and now it's
Yes.
time for you to help others get to where you've gotten. And I think, kind of
Yes.
looking in the world and society and how people are living, there's a lot of that depression and anxiety. And I'm like, wow, like, what are we doing as individuals, and then what are people doing to have that purpose and that meaning that's not so selfish, not, it's not that passion driven, but it's purpose driven to serve others and help them in whatever way is like unique and creative to them.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. It's not as selfish as maybe people have been in the past, and it is purpose driven. I feel that here. I'm sure you do too. Being around the material, you just feel different about your life. And but you're right. You look out in the world, and a lot of people don't feel like that, which is sad. One of his other quotes, Stephen Kotler said it. The number one um, source of depression is unfulfilled work. Something to that effect. I don't know if
Right.
that's the exact quote, but something. And I had this on the back of my new business card. If we're hunting the highest versions of ourselves, we want to turn work into play. Yeah. So um, I think everybody wants. People are so disconnected from what they do. It doesn't really matter who you are. Many people are really disconnected from what they do. They
Yeah.
don't feel, and money is not, it is not the be all end all like a lot of people think it is. Once you get past, where the statistic is $75,000 a year for an individual. I don't know if this is still true. I heard this from Stephen Kotler. Then
Yeah.
once you reach that level, then everything else is sort of like, okay, now what can I do?
Purpose
um
driven.
yeah.
And that's all. And Stanford University is the one that came out with that
Oh, okay.
number years ago, from, if I'm not mistaken, that 75,000. And it's all, money, sex, fame, like those survival things, the things that we're like wired to have, to survive. And then what happens once we meet those needs, where we don't have those drivers anymore, they're gone. And having
Yes.
that intrinsic stuff and that purpose, to give to others, I think that's that next level. And you look at like guys like Warren, is it Warren Buffett? No, it's not Warren Buffett. What's the other guy? The hedge fund guy. He's got the book, Ray Dalio.
Ray
He's got the
Dalio.
book Principles, and he was talking about. He's got a video on YouTube I saw like a year and a half, 2 years ago. He's like, the first part of my life was like accumulating money and, being successful and building the business, and now this part of my life is teaching people and helping people do the same. And I think, it's easy to get lost in that, because it's like Instagram and, all this stuff is shooting at us, and we see all this stuff, and it's like, well, I want to get that, and I want this and that. And, you kind of get lost in all the like pretty things. And, it's easy to
Yes.
get caught up and not just step back and say, well, okay, where am I going from here, and how can I help others? I mean, I know there's a guy, Ken Shamrock, his somewhere, I read this, and they were saying how when you go to train at their facility, they're like, okay, you're going to learn from people above you. You're going to train with people who are better than you. You're going to train with people who are at your level, and you're going to train with people below you. And I thought that was just such a like really interesting insight to like apply to life with like friends and like colleagues, and just learning from above the same level, and also teaching people below. And even still, like, you're learning from the people below you as you're connecting with them and teaching them too.
Yes. Yeah. I even heard that from FRC. One of the first, we get paired with a PhD, either neuroscientist or psychologist. And the first one said that to me. I learned from you too. And I thought,
Amazing.
oh, that's true. And you just don't. I often don't think of that, but that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
coach is like saying that? Like, how many coaches have you said that you've had say that to you? You know?
How many coaches like before I got to FRC? None, no one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And these are people that spent, this is what they do for a living, right? They're
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah, yeah.
And I was listening when I was going back because I've been through Art of Impossible, the audiobook, a lot of times, and I'm going through it again, and I'm like, okay, all these coaches that we see every week that coach us and we're in contact with, these are the guys going into these companies, when they're
Yes.
talking about these companies, because there's like, I don't know, what is there, like 12 or 24 of them, something like that, and they're the ones going into these companies and doing the thing. But I want to circle back real quick to, I want to talk about dopamine and how that's like, I think people are getting so lost because of the abuse of all the dopamine from TV, Netflix, the phone, the ringing, just
Yep.
input stimulation, music, this and that and this, and then stress, and then sleep is lacking. Nutrition's a big problem. People aren't, the social thing has really fallen apart. I feel like even more with COVID, and like it's just crazy to see everything kind of compounding together.
Yeah. um you tell people what you know about it. I do. They don't listen. I mean, the people that I tell, that they don't listen. I don't know. I think, do people really need to crash as hard as I did in order to really look at your life and go, okay, I can't do that anymore. I don't know. It's, yeah. Um, it's a real wake up call it's probably one of the reasons why I was under so much stress when I was trading, but I couldn't figure out how to get rid of, not get rid of, to exit that lifestyle. I was, because it was so much a part of, I thought it was so much a part of me. How can I
Mm,
not do this anymore? And so I was so plugged into it, like a lot of people. Even when you feel like you're not really enjoying it anymore, you're like, okay, well, I got to do this. I put so much time, effort, everything, so many years of my life into this. I have to stay here. Um,
right.
yeah. It's, and the dopamine has a big part of all of that, like that. What it was, they say it at the FRC. There's a negative side to flow, right? Like, yeah, there is. Bliss junkies and people who don't want to do anything until they're into flow, and that type of thing. And then the other side is the hustlers, right? Like that would be me. People who just, yeah, don't, they just, they're they're grinding all the time, and you don't realize it until you hit a wall multiple times. Yeah.
What would you say, what was the exit? What did it look like? What are the things that you did that other people could use, for anybody that's actually going to listen, right?
You mean,
And
why did I stop doing what I did?
not more so why, but more so like, what were the things that helped you exit that? You said that there were like, you couldn't see yourself doing anything else, and it was kind of like a part of you. So how did you make that transition from saying like, I'm gonna do something else, I don't have to do this anymore, and I don't have to be stressed and burnt out all the time?
Well, I mean, when I was sick, I couldn't do anything. So I call it the 2x4 upside the head. I got that in a big way. So I stopped doing everything. Um, but and I attributed how I was, my being sick, to that stress. So I kind of stayed away from it. Like that was 6 years ago. And just now I'm starting to revisit all of that because I love that field. I love that space. It's not that, it was me in it. And so you can, you have to know your limits. And a lot of people don't know their limits. They think that they're invincible, that, even like I talk about the stock market, even when it's good, that people think it's going to go on forever. When the economy sucks, they think that's going to go on forever. Nothing goes on forever.
Right.
It's just learning how to, be grateful for what it is now and understand that there will always be changes and how to navigate that. I mean, more so now, people in the next 10 years, there's supposed to be 100 years of change in the next 10 years, technological change, stuff that we can't even envision. I mean, you know what, like stuff that we take for granted now. Who would have thought I'd be talking to you wherever you are, right? I'm in the Northeast, you're in Florida, right? Yeah. On a phone.
Yeah.
And we all take it for granted. Like, we're probably going to be not even driving cars anymore. I mean, maybe we'll all be doing Uber. I don't know. Cars will be. I've heard a lot of this.
Hyperloop. The
Yes.
Hyperloop will
Yeah.
just be in the Hyperloop. And Europe actually has. They're working on the Hyperloop, and
Yes.
they're making small capsules that are, 2 rows of 2, and they're like, the smaller the capsule, the more we can get those capsules into like each house, pull out, and they can go everywhere. And then they're creating a global system so that each, major city or country can ultimately link their network of Hyperloop to the next city or country,
Wow.
next to them, from like Liverpool, London. I saw a big like map that they were talking about, and I was like, this is like insane. Like, we're not gonna be buying cars. It's
Yes.
like,
Right.
this is
Yeah.
this is wild. But I love how you mentioned gratitude, and I was kind of reading up on this last week about how gratitude. So the anterior cingulate cortex will bridge the gap between the default mode and the salience network, and how if you're stressed out, if you're not in a good place, if you're just like worrying, stressed, in a negative mindset, you're never gonna your ACC is never going to pick up new opportunities. It's not going to take risks. Those new creative ideas, they're weak signals in the brain, so it's not going to filter those in.
Yes.
And how they were saying how gratitude helps, put us in a frame of mind where we can actually pick up on those new ideas, opportunities. So it's not just about being like grateful and like love or whatever, but like that actually helps our brain
Yes.
figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah. I just read an article too about gratitude and the neuroplasticity of it. And yes, you're right. And there was this saying that I used to hear this a lot when I was trading: fatigue makes cowards of us all. And I thought that's really appropriate, because when you're so stressed and, like you said, you can't focus on anything other than putting out the fires that seem to constantly be at your door, then you can't. There's all the good stuff that is literally you're sitting in. You can't see it because the only thing you can see is putting out the next fire.
Yeah.
And a lot of people live their life like that, and they don't know how to get out of it. It's the perpetual downward spiral. Yes. Yeah.
What would be some of the steps you think would help people get out of that downward spiral?
I said this to Dr. Menino. I said, slowing down to go further, something to that effect. And it literally really slowing down and being almost like, I want to say like a witness to your life, like stepping aside and saying, all right, even when you're in the muck of it, if you're sick, or if your finances are really non-existent, and you're in up to your eyeballs and whatever, finding time to just set aside to look at your life, to really, what is it? And I would also say, find a really good coach from FRC, somebody who can really, really help you to navigate what's going on in you biologically. Because when you get that right, everything else will begin to make sense to you. Well, you know that, Gemini, all the stuff that you do with fitness, and so many people don't, it seems so simple to them, right? Like, is that really, and it's so not simple. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? Like, it's a simple thing, but if it were so easy, everybody would do it, right?
Right.
But
And it's like an instrument. Like, I've been playing drums for about 23 years, and I get a lot of people like, "Wow, you're really good," or that must be so much fun, and all this, like, cool stuff. And it's like, to get to a high level in anything, and like let's say translating that to drums, like, there's times where you have to sit on the drum pad, at the drum set, and play the same thing for an hour nonstop to the click, and get it right. And there's frustration, and then there's you want to throw the drumsticks, you want to smash the drums, or maybe you're working on a project on your computer and you just like want to freak out, which is cool, because now we're like, oh, this is the first stage of flow, so let me understand how much of that I can take. But it's so simple, people literally just don't believe that that's it. Like, I've told people, like, hey, do this for your fitness and whatever, this is all you need to do, and it's like, it just sounds so simple. It's like, there's no way, I saw this on Instagram, so this must be the other way because it's a hack. And it's like, people want this hack that might work short term, but long term it doesn't scale. I think Stephen Collar on the Mind Valley podcast I was listening to was talking about how there's people who are literally icing their balls to increase testosterone.
He said that.
Yeah. And it's like the wildest things. Like, people are doing these hacks, or like, there's this guy on Instagram. I'm not even gonna like name the dude, but he's got a big following, and he's a really big dude. He's successful, all that stuff, right? And he's a keto guy. But the funny thing is, you look at like the whole backstory of everything, and there's another keto guy that's like this, that's big in the keto space. These guys, how long were they not keto guys? For how many years were they like, typical bodybuilder dudes eating tons of carbs and like the protein and the, doing everything? And then they switched to keto, and it's like, oh, hey, do keto because I'm shredded. And it's like, well, forget about the other 10 to 14 years of what you did to actually get the body you've built now. And people just see the body and say, oh, well, he's keto, I can do keto. And you're like, well, let's just forget everything that actually was done before,
Yes, I know what you're saying. Stephen Cutler also says, what does he say? The amateurs will always look for a shortcut, and professionals don't even consider it, because he says, it's crawl, walk, run, or it sucks, you suck, oh, you suck less.
Right.
I said that.
And so many people don't want to suck.
I know.
They don't want to suck.
Somebody asked, I get a lot of people asking me about something in the market, and why do you think that, blah, blah, blah. They'll ask me. And I said, it's like distilling 14-hour days, 11. I used to work on Saturday and Sunday. I was obsessed. I'm not saying this was normal, but probably for anybody that's really in it, it is kind of normal. I mean, you're if you're doing the right thing, you're doing your due diligence and your research, and you're succeeding at it, and you're paying your dues. Like, you're losing money also, right? You're trying to always mitigate your risk. I don't know how I could distill all of that into one sentence, and that's why I think what I think, because I sucked, and I sucked less, right? It's that,
right.
I was willing to look like an idiot I wanted to know it, right? I was willing to look stupid and continually, like, I did a lot of things. I learned a lot, and I asked a lot of questions. I paid a lot of dues. It's hard to distill all that into a couple of sentences. When somebody asks me a question like, why do you think that? Well, okay. But people want that. They want that, like the easy, the quick fix, they just tell me what to do with my money, that kind of thing. Like, I can't tell you what to do with your money.
Right. Like,
So,
how much money do you have?
yes,
How long do you want to be doing this
yes,
for? What are you interested in, investing in? What are
yeah,
your, goals, short term, long term? Where are we going with this? What
yes,
matters to you? And it's like, there's not there. I read a quote today, and it made me think of something that I was taught. I say a lot, and I said to a friend back in early March, and because she was like, hey, I see these girls on Instagram like do these butt workouts, and like, can I grow my butt like this? I'm like, I'm laughing because I'm like, no, that is the dumbest shit. No, like they're using like these little bands, and it's like, and the quote that I read was interesting. And I read it like 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago this morning, and it was like something along the lines of like, what you see people doing on Instagram is not how they grew, built their body, you know, and the
correct.
basic fundamentals that work are what they did. And like so many people, they think like, oh, I have to have like 30 different workouts and rotate them and muscle confusion and have fun. And it's like, well, like, are we eating to like enjoy eating, or are we eating to like get to our goal? Are we doing a workout to have fun, or are we working out to like, get to a certain goal, which there might be fun in there, but ultimately, like, what's the goal, and whatever's going to take us there is not always going to be fun. Even with your hobbies, like, I wanted to be a professional drummer when I was younger, and I'm fairly good at the instrument now, but there's still things I do to this day, 22 years later, where I'm like, most of it, of my practice, I'm like, this sucks. Like, I don't even want to do this, but this is the stuff that gets me so much better,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I know. But that's, a lot of people don't want to do that. I guess that's why they're on Instagram all the time, right? They want the easy answer, the quick
What looks
fix.
cool?
Yes. Yeah.
I want to look cool.
And that's in almost any domain. You notice that. It really is. Even like in not even just fitness, but like in health. Like people who don't want to do the right thing, but they want to feel great. Well, you have to, eat the correct things, and whatever that means, like healthy things, right? Yeah. So it's, yeah. But there's
It
some
makes
really neat. I mean, there a lot of the people, most of the people that I've come across in FRC are doing phenomenal things with it. That's why it's so neat to be there. They're building businesses. They're, they're just, some people are. I mean, I've yet to meet anybody that's not done a lot of cool stuff with their lives already.
some
Yeah.
good people in there. And
Yes.
I got somebody who's coming on tomorrow. We're gonna do an episode, and he's trying to um, he pretty much wants to cure like Alzheimer's and dementia.
Wow.
Seeing his like grandmother go through the process of like literally losing her own personality, and her aware of this whole process. And I'm just like, wow, like this is crazy. This guy is like, first off, like seeing somebody in your family like lose their personality and sense of self, and they're aware of it through the process, is like, wow, that's intense. And then two, him like, I'm in school, I'm a neuroscientist, this is what I'm trying to do, this is my like, MTP, and you're just like, wow, like what am I
Yeah.
doing with my life?
Wow. Yeah. Is he from FRC?
Yeah, he's in
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's in
that's,
FTA. I don't see him pop up a lot. I think he's more in the academic world.
I know. I think I know who you mean.
Nicholas.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's not in our country, I think, right? He's in the UK.
I think he's in I think it's London time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I've read
So
some
I'm
of his
excited for
posts.
that one.
It's yes. Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
um there's some things that I really like that have came up with like slowing down. You know, I
Yes.
think for a lot of people where people are at now, whether they most people seem a little bit overstimulated. So slowing down to really um, have that space to evaluate things. And it made me think of Tim Ferriss. Somebody asked him, like, what do you do? What are your days like? And he's like, my days are boring as hell. Like, I literally drink tea and I go out for a walk. And I do that for like 4 or 5 days or whatever he said, you know, like a couple days for like a whole week. And he just kind of thinks of that one thing he needs to do. And that really, like, you know, we know, like, internally with the brain and the biology of it, it really sets us up to
Yeah.
have those aha moments and really think about things and what matters most. And then shifting from there, um, and going into a place of like the passions recipe, you know, really intersecting what things we love to do and are curious about and passionate about, and then feeding those while also seeing the links. Because you know people are like, oh, motivation, motivation, but you have to have like 3 or 4 like things that intersect and link to really like keep you in the game. And you know you're constantly learning and you're feeding that dopamine to get excited, and then having your values align with all those things. I think that's a great starting point for so many people.
Yes.
A lot of people just I don't know, some people are lost, some people just they're overstimulated and stressed, some people have no challenge and they're bored, and it's like, you know.
Yeah. I have a daughter on either end of those spectrums. One's overstimulated and the other one is, I wouldn't say bored, but she's apathetic. She's in finance, and
Yeah.
she does not like her job at all. And yeah, my advice to her is always do something one day a week that's totally different than what you do, and don't do it for money. Just do it because you really want to do it. Some autotelic, just do it because for the sake of being in that space. So yeah.
That's amazing advice. And that's, you know, going through Zero to Dangerous, just thinking about, hey, you know, what were some of the things that you did as a kid that just made you happy? And I've been talking about getting rollerblades for I don't know how long. So that was when I was like, okay, boom, I'm buying rollerblades. I started rollerblading. And it's like we were talking about in one of the sessions how, you know, like time is like moving forward, it stands still, it doesn't really exist. And like every time I rollerblade, it's like I'm kind of like connecting with my like 10-year-old, 8-year-old self that's still out there rollerblading in this whole
Yeah.
like weird quantum
Yes.
world or whatever, you know. And like
Yep.
I think a lot of people could really benefit from just like feeling like a kid again.
Yes. Yeah. I used to love I had a boy's 10-speed bike, and I remember how I it was long before helmets, and I would drive right up to the top of where I'm from, Watertown, and it was a park, and then I would go flying down the hill through traffic. I can still remember this. It's amazing. I mean, I must have like 9 lives, but I mean, I never got hurt. But I loved it. And I would get killed if I tried to do that around here. There's so much traffic, and even people don't seem to. Yeah, I'm serious. And they used to do this in Philly. I know. I think they do it once a year, where all the bikers get together, and they commemorate all the people that have died.
Wow.
Yeah, because people on the road don't seem to honor people who are on a bike. So yeah,
Right.
but
Put on
I
their
love that.
phones.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. What'd you
Oh,
say?
so I saw a guy yesterday. He was driving his car with his phone. He was driving his car like this. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. But
It
you
is.
know, I had this thought about, because we were talking about stress earlier, and just the active recovery of it, and like riding your
Mhm.
bike, having fun, and it's like you're reducing stress and you're just having fun. You're getting into flow riding your bike. You got to be aware, and just kind of losing yourself in that. And it's so crazy how much like happiness and enjoyment it like instantly brings into your life, and you don't always have to just like go do a crazy workout or like go spend money and do something. Like you can just like literally go for a nice walk or ride
Right.
bike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Go for a walk. Like that's, I mean, I'll go running around here because it's a pretty quiet neighborhood. And I do it mostly to clear my head. And I love just to get outside. And from just sitting inside and in front of a computer, like a lot of people, I really loved getting outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's
I have
good.
a friend, she's a lawyer, and the last time I saw her, it was like 9:30 at night, and she was on her laptop for literally 13 hours.
Yeah.
She works from home on her laptop, and it's just like, dude, like you have to get out and like take a break, go for a walk, enjoy yourself, like get some coffee and talk to some people at the coffee shop. Like it's just can't be this stress, stress, go, 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 work, get shit done, and then like drink, and socialize and then drink on the weekends. And it's like that's great, but then all that drinking is like adding more stress to you, and you think like in the moment you're like, oh, I'm relaxing, I'm not doing anything, but your brain is like, help me, I'm drowning. What are you doing to me?
Is that what happened to me this weekend? Oh,
That's hilarious.
that's cool.
Yeah, so with you and all of your coaching and stuff, where I know you're working on the website.
I have to update it. Yes, I changed my title. I don't know how to say it. I've been leading when, I'm in these Chamber of Commerce and what do you do? I'm a holistic business coach. And they go, what is that? So I'm attracting people to me that think I have something to do with medicine.
Right, right,
And I'm
right.
like, no, 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 that's not it at all. It's all about, how you feel. And so I thought of this a while ago, but I didn't. Somebody was working on my website, and by the time they finished it, I had already moved on. It was already obsolete. So I've come up with this, but this is just nothing new. Women's wealth, women's worth, and I really like that because that's my life. So it's and that kind of says it all. It's like women. I didn't want to like leave you guys out, but I thought, oh well, you don't really need my help. So everybody, um, that's anyway. Guys are they got it. They know what they're doing. Not that women don't. I'm just saying that we live longer, and statistically, we are. We are stewards of most of the money in the world. We just don't realize it. We make most of the purchases of all. We
Right.
look for, we if you've got a family, you're always the one who's doing most of the even major purchases like healthcare, like schools, like college, all kinds of things like that. You're making the major decisions. Either that or you're really, I'm thinking of my life, you're really, really encouraging people to make these different decisions. So we have a lot of responsibility for the well-being, financial and wealth and, physical well-being of our families and ourselves. So, um,
Yeah.
those aren't my statistics. They're old statistics. I found out when I was in the business. They're probably much different now, meaning we control, that's the word. We control a lot of wealth in the world.
And
To,
what does that mean to you and like your um potential people, women that you're going to work with, like women's wealth, women's worth?
wealth is really, and I heard people say this and I didn't believe it either, but it's true. It's really a mindset. and it really has to start with your well-being. It's not just a money wealth. It's like what you know this, Gemini, from if your physical body, if your physicality is all messed up, then all kinds of money are, you can't, you need to figure that out. And yes, money can help you with great health care, but you still need to figure it out. And a lot of it is goes to what you feel that you're worth. What are you worth? Are you worth the time to, like you say, go for a walk? Or are you worth the time to study something? Like we've taken how many months out of our life to study with FRC and then do the other, the 2 courses. And it's not like it's a once a month thing. It's almost an everyday thing in the beginning. That's what I did. So we both thought we were worth it, so wealth and feeling a worthiness, it begins when you're little. It really does. And a lot of people don't have that feeling because their parents didn't have it. And I understand that. So it's more like kind of resurrecting what people really, really want for their lives. And it might not be everything that they've accomplished so far. What makes them really happy and filled with like peace of mind is a big thing for me. Because I don't think a lot of people have that right now, especially. And it's available to anyone. So it really is.
Yeah. And as far as all of the like social platforms or your websites being made, where for anybody that wants to potentially work with you or get in contact with you, what's the best place for that for them to find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. It's under Lisa Frattali, and my website is lisafrattali.com.
Okay.
I'll spell it.
Okay.
It's Frattali because people always misspell it. But yes, you can see
Awesome.
my website.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see. I haven't checked. Did you send me a link yet? I don't think I've seen it yet.
I don't think I did. I was thinking of sending you the link when the last time we talked. Yes, for other reasons. That's so you could check it out. But maybe so you could. I know you have some expertise in that area. So yes. No, seriously.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I would love to. When we get out of here, we'll connect, and I'll definitely gladly check it out. And then I'm glad that you jumped on here. We got to do this. I think as things progress and get a little more dialed in, we'll probably maybe just have you back on and
cool.
Update and see how everything's progressed. And I know that you're in the leadership. Is it climbing? What is it? Something mountain? I forgot the name.
Yeah, you're right. It does. They don't say that, but I heard that too. Something about a mountain.
Something a mountain. There's a mountain being climbed.
Yes, something like that. Yeah, it's intense.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much about, of course, myself and business, and I did a game. They have you do this game. It's pretty cool. And it was designed by a bunch of students and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who just passed. Yeah. And it's called Fligby.
Okay.
And yes, it's really cool. And it's a virtual game, and you have to do it, and you're timed. I think I think that I did it in about 5 hours. You could space it out, but I was the manager of a winery in California. And I was given the task of, like getting these people to be profitable, get into flow, and win a contest for the best wine in the valley. And I can't even explain it. I couldn't stop it. I was like, wow. And it didn't seem like it because there was all kinds of drama. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can't. And I got like super high scores and all kinds of things. And my husband was like, wow. I think he was surprised, like, wow, that's really,
He was like, wow, we should maybe start a winery.
Yeah, wow.
Why are we doing this coaching thing?
Yes, it was fun. Yeah, it's fun. It's
That
really,
sounds
yeah,
intense.
it is. The whole course is, well, it's Rian, right? And he's one of those brainiacs. I mean, he's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody, I got to say this, I've said this to you, I know I've said it to you and I've said it to other people, to be where we are in the FTA and to be learning how to be this neuroscience-backed peak performance coach. I've heard of other people looking at other programs. I'm like, you have no idea where you are. This is like considered the premier coaching course probably in the world. And Stephen Kotler's been researching this stuff for 30 years. It's considered world renowned. And so to be there, to study with them is a big deal. I mean, I think of it that way. Like I think it's a big deal. I'm really grateful I went ahead and applied and I'm here, so I'm taking advantage of all of it.
It's a good place to be. I've had multiple people. I mean, to this day, I had a friend, my friend that's a lawyer. Oh, Flo, and like, what is your background? What have you even done? And like, this isn't for you, and you should just leave and get your money back. And like, I got another friend, and it's like this, and it's like, then I talk to people. It's funny when I talk to somebody with a degree. I met a girl last week. What's today? Wednesday? No, I've met her Monday, and she's got a degree in psychology. She's has her master's in psychology, and I'm like, hey, have you heard of positive psychology? And she's like, yes, and we're talking about flow and all this stuff, and like her eyes are like popping out of her head. And these people are like, this is amazing, and like, how do you know this stuff? And oh my god, like, wow, really? And it's interesting seeing the one side of people who are like, okay, and whatever. And then there's the other people that are like, tell me more. I need to know everything This is crazy. Like, what is going on? And it's like, all of this stuff is based off of things that work, not just like for you or me, or like for people who have their shit together or whatever. It's like, this works for everybody. Yeah. This is how we are wired to work, and it will work, just knowing how to reverse engineer things off of that for you. Like, he talks a lot about how like stress for an introvert is probably lesser of a threshold than an extrovert, where they can take a lot more stress. And so it's just understanding like the individual game within those mechanisms that like actually work for everybody every single time,
Yes. Yeah. I know. I do know. Yes. Yeah.
Everybody's so caught up in that hack that it's like, oh, will this work for me? I don't think it will. And, all of this stuff that we've been going through is it's interesting. It's like so next level that it's really like we're at the forefront of this. And I think maybe anybody that's looking for other things, for me personally, going through all of this, there's no way I never even thought of looking for anything else. Like when I got to Zero to Dangerous, I was like, oh my God, like this is insane.
Yeah, I know. She's in Z to D, this woman, and she's looking at something, and I happen to know what it would cost her, because long before this I did that, and I said, you would totally be wasting your money. You could buy a car instead.
Jesus.
I'm serious. Buy a car instead. Save your 30 grand or whatever. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And that's not even the cost of Zero to Dangerous. What's interesting too is like, anybody, I know like for sure, because I don't know where she's at in the program or whatever, but it's like, are you even doing the lessons and the work? Because once you start working through it and you have your coaching sessions, like it's a no-brainer.
Yes, I know. I didn't ask that, but what made, no, I'm serious, but I thought that, like, are you drinking the same Kool-Aid I've been drinking? Because it doesn't sound like you're like, what? Yeah. No, I don't know. So, well,
Well, I it's been great. It's been awesome. I definitely want to check out your website, so we'll connect on that. Um, and then as far as everything we talked about, is there anything you want to maybe leave everybody with as far as like a bit of advice or um,
find your mojo. That's what I said today. Find your mojo.
how would they find
And
their mojo?
you probably lost your mojo somewhere along the line. It's different for everybody, Gemini, but I'd say contact you, call you, get somebody. Seriously, it's because it's their biology, right? You have to understand that if you don't, I don't think people have to get sick like I did, but hey, maybe they do. I don't know, but it's well worth it, and you're here for a limited amount of time. Nobody likes when I say that, but it's the God's honest truth. We are. No one's going to live forever. And actually, the quality of your life. So if your life sucks in any way right now, do something. Find your, and for a lot of people that you just mentioned, the brainiacs out there, it's their ego that's preventing them from actually admitting that some part of their life is not working. And I would go as far to say some part of their life probably sucks. So, it's an ego thing for a lot of people. That's what it is.
It's a hard thing to overcome.
It is. It is. So, yeah, find your mojo.
That was
Yeah.
That was good stuff. I think a lot of people needed to hear that and really get real and honest with themselves and what's
Yes.
working and what's not working. And it's okay to take the loss. It's okay to move on from something that
Yes.
didn't work, hasn't worked, and finding out what's true to you and what's going to work. Because, I mean, hell, look at The Rock. I mean, his goal was to be a football player, a professional football player. Never got into the NFL, got injured, lost it, was broke, got into wrestling. Dude's an actor now. Now he owns the XFL. Now he's an owner of a football company. So,
Yes.
That being said, I definitely think that's great advice. Find your mojo, get real with yourself, find out what's true to you, and don't get lost in all the cool things and shiny things along the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise out there. I say that all the time. There's a ton of noise, and there's a lot of imposters of people that have not actually done what you would do in going through Z to D. Mm-hmm. So
amazing stuff. Awesome, Lisa.
Yes.
Thank you. For everybody that wants to get in touch with her, it's Lisa Frattali at LinkedIn. That's Frattali, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. All right, Lisa. Well, I really appreciate your time and your insights. And
thank you, Gemma.
Have an awesome day.
It's fun. Thanks.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.